Defense News. It's proudly sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're a member of our nation's armed forces, the Department of Defense, or if your family is, we'd be proud to serve you too.
On this episode of Defense News Weekly, a group for veterans feeling adrift after service. Find out the unique way one organization is helping those in need. Plus, an innovative tool that can help staunch battlefield wounds. Check out this new way to stop bleeding in a hurry. And it's Veterans Day. We bring you a story to mark the occasion. Coming to you from our studio in Washington, D.C., it's the latest in news and analysis from the Pentagon to the platoon, here on Defense News Weekly. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Diana Stancy. For many service members, the time after they get out of the military can leave them feeling disconnected. Gone is the tight-knit network they had when they were in uniform, along with the structure provided by a military life. For those feeling a little bit adrift, a group called Patrol Base Abate is looking to help in a variety of innovative ways. We caught up with them at MCON to learn about their efforts to bring veterans together and provide a range of support options. Have a look.
Today, Patrol Base Abate is putting on an archery range in support of MCON. So we're here at Prairie Fire Range in Pahrump, Nevada, outside of Las Vegas. Anybody who wants to sling some arrows can come by. We got instructors here, regardless of your level of archery skill, brand new beginner or pro. We got some bows and arrows for you to sling. And then Saturday, Sunday, we'll be set up. We've actually got an indoor range with MCON, and we'll also have a booth set up. Patrol Base Abate is a veteran service organization focused on providing a space for veterans to find community. The two leading proximal causes of suicide in the veteran space is loss of connection and lack of purpose. And we aim to target both of those things. So we engage with our membership via two means. Number one is interest-based clubs. We have 21 interest-based clubs. If one of those 21 doesn't fit your fancy, whatever you're interested in, find someone else who's interested in it. One of you will be in charge and we'll facilitate your pursuit of that interest. And then we'll create programming around that interest to help target those two proximal causes of suicide. The other way that we engage with our members is via local chapters. So wherever you are in the country, we've got 35 chapters and growing. And so this combination provides an opportunity for you to pursue your hobbies or your interests in the community of other veterans who have walked a similar path as you, or simply engage with a veteran network within your hometown. Patrol Base Abate has no barriers to entry. If you raised your right hand and you wore the cloth of the nation, swore the same oath as the rest of us, we've got a spot for you. We're focused on making an impact in veteran suicide. And there's no connection between how you served and propensity to commit suicide. In fact, kind of the law of numbers, you are more likely to commit suicide as a veteran if you haven't served in combat than you are if you did serve in combat. So we're not interested in how you served, whether you served in combat, whether you were combat wounded, combat deployed, deployed, never deployed, it doesn't matter. If you raised your right hand and wore the cloth of the nation for 4 days or 40 years, we've got a spot for you. We have a permanent patrol base in Thompson Falls, Montana. 60 acres, backs up to 250,000 acres of National Forest Service, so plenty of nature around us. And our interest-based clubs conduct their return to base program at our property in Montana. The return to base program is a 5-day program. Every one of those 5 days has 4 elements to it. We start off every day with morning wellness, usually in the form of yoga and meditation. We're obviously gonna engage in whatever your club's interest in is. So right now we have book club up there right now. They're reading the things they carried in preparation for it, and then they'll engage on various literature that they've read in their monthly meetings leading up to the program. This year we've had fight club, strength club, fly fishing club, golf club, hunt club. Each one of our clubs, based on membership and growth and engagement, will earn their spot, depending on our resources, to run a return to base program. Every day has a service component to it. Now that we own 60 acres, a lot of that is trail clearing and fire mitigation and upkeep of the 60 acres that we have. And then every night caps off with fireside chats, which is really just guided discussions to offload whatever mental baggage you're carrying around in the community of fellow veterans who may have gone through the same experiences that you are. we have a consistent theme through this programming of, a rising tide lifts all boats. So even for our veterans that are doing great, right? They're engaged socially, maybe they're happily married, good relationship with their children, financially stable. That's great. You've got experience to provide to the community. And then the other end of the spectrum where maybe I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills, maybe I don't have a social connection, right? We need all of those individuals to be engaged, because if you show up in Montana and you're doing great and I'm maybe hurting, by the fact of me spending 5 days in the mountains with you, I'm going to leave better than I was when I showed up, because I'm spending those days with you. So we need everybody across the spectrum, whether you're doing great or whether you're challenged. So one of the things that makes us unique is that if you sign up today and your local chapter, let's say, is having a meeting today, you can find community today. Whereas, it's not like other places where, you sign up to go on, to be accepted into one of the programs, and you might be put on a waiting list and you don't get to engage in that community until you're accepted into that. For us, you can sign up today and potentially be engaged with community today. We have just north of 5,000 members right now. We're in our 4th year of programming. We grow by about 1,500 members per year, and we're north of 5,000 right now. In terms of our premier programs, our return to base and our regional return to base programs, we'll put north of 200 veterans through those programs. And those programs are free of charge. If you are accepted onto that roster, get yourself to the airport and we'll take care of the rest. We'll buy your plane tickets, get you up. Obviously, we've got the lodging at the property at the patrol base, and then all your food's taken care of. So again, when we say no barriers to entry, there are no barriers to entry. We don't get to choose when that isolated veteran is going to find the courage to peek out of the curtains and say, maybe I need to reach out, maybe I need to get connected. But when that veteran does peek out of the curtains and say, reach out their hand and say, I need some community, we're going to be there to support. And if you're not ready to engage in person just yet, go look us up on the website, sign up, you'll get some emails. It'll be low impact for you, and we'll be ready when you're ready to come join the community.
When we come back, a new product that offers an innovative way to potentially stop bleeding from battlefield wounds. Learn more about it when we return. Welcome back. Battlefield medicine is an ever-evolving science with a unique and high-pressure goal: to save as many lives as possible in the most challenging of conditions, warfare. One of the huge dangers of combat wounds is blood loss, but some of the methods for treating it haven't changed in hundreds of years. A company called Cressilon is trying to change that. What if, instead of wads of gauze, you could fill a wound with a gel that helps stop bleeding quickly and is easily removed? Military Times' Todd South talked to the maker of the product, called Trauma Gel, about what the latest offering can do.
So about 40% of all trauma deaths across the world are due to blood loss. About 1.5 million people a year lose their lives due to blood loss. It's been an age-old problem, and of course with the military, it's a key problem for any combat scenario or even training scenario. Now, there's all kinds of ways to stop blood flow, but none of them are as effective as people would like them to be. Not as quick, not as stable, sometimes can cause contamination. There's all kinds of factors that go into giving people blood, stopping bleeding, anytime blood gets involved. So we're here today to talk with a company that's created a new product that's been cleared by the FDA that could help solve that age-old problem. So hey, Joe, could you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing over there, and a little bit about how that might help military members?
Of course. Thank you for having me. So Cressilon was founded by me 14 years ago when I was a college student, and I came across this blend of polymers, so effectively long chains of sugar that come from algae, that I realized would stick to skin and wouldn't let go until I wanted it to. So we had this idea, which was being able to use a product like this to stop massive hemorrhage. And so that's exactly what we've done 14 years later. Is Trauma Gel is indicated for external use for moderate to severe hemorrhage. And so where you would use a typical hemostatic device, so massive bleeding like gunshot wounds, like arterial bleeds, venous bleeds, where you can use this product without needing to wound pack to create a mechanical barrier on contact and get that bleeding stopped quickly and effectively.
Well, if you could walk us through it, I mean, what exactly are you seeing? Are you basically, you have like a salve you're putting on by hand? Do you have special tools? Do you inject this? What exactly is happening if someone on a first responder sees someone with some pretty massive bleeding or even superficial bleeding and wants to use trauma gel?
Sure. So trauma gel is a 30 milliliter pre-filled syringe. So all you do is you open the pouch, you take the syringe out, uncap the syringe, and inside it is a beige gel. So it's about the consistency of hummus. And so the New Yorker in me will always use food-based analogies. But what you would do is squirt this product into the bleeding wound or onto the bleeding wound. And as soon as it gets on contact, those polymers in the gel snap together. They create a mechanical barrier against even strong lethal bleeding and allow that patient to produce their own clot. And so once that clot is done, you can then remove the product and you leave only the patient's clot behind.
That's amazing. And you mentioned algae. I love like when nature gets involved here. So like, did algae have some kind of property that does something like this in nature, or is it some kind of whole new novel application of something that this particular type of algae does?
So algae has been used in various biomedical applications over the years, but the way that we're applying it is completely novel. And so it's something that as a young kid, I was really interested in chemistry, and my parents wanted me to work in an area that was safe, and they assumed plant-based chemistry was safe. So that was my area of focus when I was 17 years old, when I started this. And now over the last 14 years, the product that we've developed has been refined and turned into the highly efficacious technology that we have today.
And so have you been in contact with or are already sold or contracted yet to fire departments, police departments, even military units? Are you able to discuss any of those interactions?
So at this point, we're just gearing up for launch. And so Trauma Gel is getting ready. We intend to be out there in the market saving lives by the end of this year, but it's still early days for us.
Now, for our audience, obviously Military Times, Defense News, very focused area, very concerned about this as part of safety in a product like this could maybe help them. You're talking to a combat medic or a group of combat medics who might be taking trauma gel out with them to a training event or even deploying with overseas. What is this doing for them that they don't currently have the ability to do, or what does this add to their abilities already to do?
Sure. So Trauma Gel is about saving time first and foremost. Trauma gel reduces the need to pack an injury. So if you have a deep injury where the patient is bleeding, you're packing gauze or other products into that injury, which is painful for the casualty. It can expose the medic to shards of bone, to grenade fragments or other shrapnel that can expose your body fluids to the patients or vice versa. And so that process is almost entirely eliminated with trauma gel because trauma gel is the first flowable hemostatic indicated for traumatic bleeding, meaning it can be deployed through a syringe and very easily put in place, especially in complicated wounds. Secondly, it allows very efficacious control of even the strongest bleeds. And so even in the face of strong, severe, life-threatening bleeding, trauma gel will stay where it needs to stay. It allows for a much higher likelihood of control of hemorrhage. And then finally, when that patient does get to the next level of care, the clot that is formed by trauma gel does not become incorporated within the gel itself. So if you have a gauze, the clot is inside of the gauze. If you peel that gauze off, or if you medevac that patient, the vibrations from a helicopter or from transport can shear open that clot, causing rebleeding and cause negative effects to that patient. With trauma gel, because you can remove the gel without disturbing the clot, it's much easier to remove and it delivers a less or lower level of rebleeding.
When we come back, our personal finance expert is back with tips on how your time in the military can strengthen your financial prowess. Stay with us. Welcome back. Your military service can prepare you for a lot of life's challenges, but did you know it can also strengthen your financial acumen? On this episode of Money Minute, Jeanette Mack from Navy Federal Credit Union shows you how your training can improve your bottom line.
If there's one thing that impacts us all, it's financial wellness. As a service member, you've developed valuable skills that can make a huge difference in your financial well-being. Commitment, discipline, and resourcefulness, all of which help to strengthen your financial fitness. Now's the perfect time to set your goals, whether it's getting out of debt, saving for a home, building an emergency fund, or planning for retirement. Set your goals and dedicate yourself to accomplishing them. Sticking to a budget and saving regularly takes discipline. As a service member, you should have that in spades. Just keep your goals in mind and your money closely guarded. Also, help your money help you. Use direct deposit and auto deposits to put your money safely away in checking and savings accounts. You should also embrace your resourcefulness. In the military, you learn to stay calm under pressure. Unexpected financial challenges like medical bills or car repairs happen, but your disciplined savings habits and your ability to think critically will help you overcome. Remember, while much of your financial journey rests on your shoulders, teamwork is vital too. Make sure that you and your partner are aligned on financial goals and don't hesitate to seek advice from a trusted financial advisor. Together, you'll be well on your way to lifelong financial success.
Thanks, Jeanette. We'll see you next week. To get more coverage of military and defense topics, rev up the amphibious combat vehicle and head toward militarytimes.com and defensenews.com for more headlines. And to be the most up-to-date operator in the Little Bird, sign up for our Early Bird Brief, compiled each morning to bring you the most recent headlines. Lastly, if social media is where you collect open source intelligence, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. And just like most junior troops, we're on TikTok, so go find us there as well. After the break, we've got a special Veterans Day story, so don't touch that dial, which is a reference to when televisions had... Never mind. We've got more when we return. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Dinah Stancy. Each year for Veterans Day, we like to highlight exceptional service, and you'd be hard-pressed to find service more exceptional than the men of the U.S. Army's long-range reconnaissance patrols in Vietnam. These men were sent behind enemy lines in teams of 6 to find and report on enemy troop movements and positions, and defend themselves if necessary. The job was so dangerous they barely spoke to each other for the week they were on the mission, and went to great lengths to stay undetected. The LRPs are legendary, and we spoke to several veterans of those units earlier this year for our series, Shadows in the Jungle. Have a look at some of that story.
All of our missions, military intelligence begged for prisoners, live prisoners. My team leader stepped out in front of a lone VC coming down the trail. And Dong Lai means halt in Vietnamese. And he told him Dong Lai. The guy did an about face and took off running. And he ran about 10 yards and turned left, right into me and my partner. And team leader yelled out, "Kill him." You know, and so we did.
That was your first contact with the enemy?
Right.
Yeah, you have to realize that when the LRP companies were originally formed, they put out the call for experienced people throughout all the units that were in Vietnam to form these companies. So all the guys in the company were a lot older than I was. I was a replacement coming in late. And a lot of the guys started looking out for me because I was the I was the kid. I was only 18 years old.
I think the ROTC I had in college, and you know, I think being older than a lot of those guys helped me too. I was 20 when I went to Nam, so I turned 21 in Nam. Most of those guys were 18 and 19. So I think the maturity level helped me in leadership more than the experience did.
To be honest with you, I personally didn't get any training when I went to the LRPs. They were looking for team leaders, people that had, and I had my previous tour, they just absolutely selected me. Now I went out and worked with my team. We didn't get fancy. I think later on they came out, they put some rappelling towers out. I mean, we rappelled and we worked with and McGuire rig extractions, but it was just more OJT than anything in those early years. I mean, it was just like, you have to figure it out. No book, no, you know. But the people that got, if you want to call it training, actually went to the Recondo School, and they learned a lot about that. But as far as me, I mean, I walked into the unit and they said, okay, there's your team, go get them.
In the first place, when the day that you get to Vietnam, you get a certain level of adrenaline that stays in your body the whole time you're there, because you don't know who's the enemy, when you're going to get hit, and you're always, that apprehension is in the back of your head, and you're always on alert.
The adrenaline rush caused guys to do strange things, laugh idiotically, you know. It was not comparable to anything else in life. Better than sex. One guy eventually ended up being our team leader. His first mission, we got into a really hairy situation. We got surrounded, and as the helicopter's lifting off, I'm singing a song from the Dave Clark 5. It starts out, "Here we come again, catch us if you can." And then the next verse is, "Now we gotta run, no more time for fun." And he thought I'd gone crazy, but maybe I did.
The bottom line, when you volunteer for a company like that, and this goes with Special Forces and with the Rangers and with the LRPs, if you decide that you can't handle it, you just raise your hand and say, "I quit." And nothing said. You know, you don't get called anything or anything else like that. They just cut your set of orders and you walk off and go.
I've never quit anything in my life. So if you're not going to quit, you better get good.
And we spent almost a month just doing quick reaction drills up and down the company streets, to basically more training before we even went out on a mission.
I had some doubts, and I think as a young man of 20 years old, you have doubts and you rise to the occasion. And like John Wayne says, you know, being afraid and saddling up anyways, it's kind of that kind of mentality. And I got through the first night. There was a time when I remember they taught us how to do tracheotomies with a ballpoint pen. And they taught us how to give blood units, and we carried atropine syrettes, we carried morphine syrettes. We kind of learned how to, when we went to training, do the medical stuff. And I remember they had a body of VC that had been killed. They were getting ready to transport, and they showed how to do a tracheotomy on it. And I had never seen a dead body, you know, at 20 years old. And I remember the first sergeant put his hand on my shoulder. He says, "You'll get used to it."
Well, that's all we have time for in this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.